Look, and I'm like, look, still like, honey, he's a preacher, not a
to see Ben Chandler today. This tidal wave is going to sweep a lot of people out of office, and I'm hoping Ben Chandler is one.
Yeah.
It's not that he's a Democrat. It's that he has been dishonorable to the position. He took a pledge, he signed his name, and said he would not vote to raise taxes, and then he did. He signed a pledge with the Americans for Tax Reform not to raise taxes, and then he did. We need to shame him, and he needs to explain why he broke his pledge on taxes.
That's right.
He voted for $1 trillion, nearly $1 trillion of new debt. We don't have the money. It's bankrupting this country, and he needs to explain to us in Kentucky why he voted to add $1 trillion to the debt. Ben Chandler also needs to explain why he voted for cap and trade. Cap and trade is essentially a tax on each and every Kentuckian between $400 and some estimates as much as $1,000 in tax on your utility bill. We get 90% of our electricity from coal, and Ben Chandler doesn't know it. If we don't burn coal, we're going to be having candles in our houses, and Ben Chandler needs to know that you cannot vote to eliminate the coal industry and to tax all of us and get away with it. Yay! We need to send him a message.
Right.
There is a huge movement in our country. We have benefited from it in our campaign, this Tea Party movement, and what I'm here today is to say this movement is so big that we want to spread the love. We want to spread the love to all the Republican candidates running against Ben Chandler and say that if I get the nomination, and even if I don't, we're going to be working over the next few months to grow this movement to make it big enough to defeat Ben Chandler.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce my campaign manager again, David Adams, who will introduce the candidates running against Ben Chandler.
To speak about their candidacies, let's start with George Pendergrass.
I am the grassroots guy, I think, the one that was leading the battle, just like Rand Paul is, and I agree with everything he's done. I appreciate him leading the battle against all what's going on. He talked about the debt. When you look at 11 trillion, 12 trillion, who knows where this is going? And we got to put a stop to it right now, guys, because it's going to take our country down, and we all know that.
Yep.
And we're working toward one thing, and a big thing is what I agree with him on. We need to get a tax system that's fair. I'm a businessman. I got a company I've had for 18 years, and I get taxed on everything I do, and I'm going to lose my business if they keep on. When you're losing 40 to 45% in taxes, and then you throw workman's comp and everything else and the unemployment insurance, you throw it all on there, guys, they're taking it all away and there's nothing left. The flat tax, I'm big on it. I think we really are more or less need to look at it, because we're going to have to do something to get the government out of our pockets where companies can come back. And the biggest thing that we're facing, and they keep yelling jobs, they gave how much money for jobs? Well, that money went to nowhere, and we all know that. The problem is we have no manufacturing left in this country anymore at all. And if we want jobs, go after these companies. You got Pratt & Whitney, went to Canada, Bell Helicopter, Canada. All our military is flying Eurocopter now. I should know, I do it for a living. So I got a great guy that helped me out today that's working with me right now while I'm over here doing that, and I appreciate that. I had to throw that in. But we've got so many issues, and I wrote them down one thing after the other last night, and I had a sheet about this long. Guys, we got so many issues facing this country, and we got to get people in there that want to battle in Washington, because that's where it's at. And when they have bills out there, and a bill should be what it's about and then everything under it should go away. I had a lady accuse me, and she goes, well, they would never get anything done. Well, you know why? The good stuff would rise to the top and the bad stuff would fall out the bottom. And that's what I told her. I said, you can't get anything done by throwing a lot of money at something and not accomplish anything. And that's what they've done. Thank you guys. Look for me on the ballot.
Next up, Perry Barnes.
Perry Barnes, running for Congress also. I want a piece of Ben's hide. I'm the other grassroots candidate. I think they're all going to be grassroots candidates. And whichever one of us wins, we're going to send Ben home. I'm a compassionate candidate. I'm going to help him pack. I have no compassion for the man. It's just too bad he's really screwed the country and he's screwed us, and they're just taking away our money, taking away your money, and turning this country into a dictatorship. They're just trying to find more stimulus money that they can waste. They're going to take it all away from us, and you aren't going to have any spare funds to share. The churches are going to be hurting. Everybody's hurting. So we've got to take our country back. I appreciate your vote in the fall, or in the spring and in the fall. Thank you.
We're having such a wonderful event here. There's a whole bunch of us looks like we want to take our country back. I'm Mike Templeman. I got in this race a little late. Been in business 30, 40 years. I know, like a lot of you all, that things are bad and wrong in Washington. I mean, it is so bad up there. They're spending so much money that there's no way our kids and our grandkids and their children are going to be able to do it. That's the reason I got in this race. I looked at my kids, my grandchildren. I said, I'm not going to leave you a country that's better. I have a better chance of making it than I did. My parents left me a wonderful opportunity. We're not going to leave these kids much of an opportunity with $12 trillion stuck on their back. As Rand said, Ben Chandler had a chance earlier this year. He voted. It would have only taken 5 votes to stop $1.9 trillion. Only 5 votes in Congress. But it would have only taken 3 votes to change it. They won by 5. They could have turned it around with 3 votes. This Ben Chandler, we have an old saying, Ben Chandler has let his mouth and has let his actions write a check that his butt can't cash. It is time for him to come home. He's never had a job. He has never had his hands dirty. He needs to see what 86,000 people in this state feel like today, millions in this nation. He needs to come home and see what it's like to have to get out here and make a living. We got to get the government out of our lives. We got to get the government out of our way. The government don't create jobs. This stimulus created 70% of those government jobs, which we can't even afford. Government jobs cost us more than the private sector does. We cannot afford those. We can't afford that kind of job. That's not the thing that's going to turn this country around. And particularly, the government is not going to put people back to work. You can forget that. People standing right here is going to put people back to work. And what we need to do is we need to get the government out of their lives and out of their way so they can put people back to work. And we need to be consistent with that message that we send them. We can't say that we're going to do you're going to have to do health care, you're going to have to do all these things. I don't know what would ever possess 40 years ago, 30-some years ago when I went in business, if I looked down the road and not had any more unsurety than these young people out here that's trying to start a business. I mean, I can't imagine them going out and mortgaging their home, borrow money from their family, doing all the things, asking their friends to go to work for them. I couldn't imagine them doing that with the message that we're sending them. We got to slow down. We got to send a constant message, and we live in the greatest country that there's ever been. Every time we get away from this Constitution, like we are now, we get in trouble. We got to. Well, thank you. We've got to send a message to people to go back into business, trust this country, trust the people in this country, and put people back to work. I would appreciate your support.